Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, students. So, today we'll be talking about the delegation model of the events that is in Java. So, what is this event delegation model? All of you have submitted the assignments also. So, I'll just repeat a little bit. In this event delegation model, there are three things that you have to take consider. One is the event itself. The events can be generated by any one of the controls basically. So they can be mouse event, they can be so-called your keyboard events, and there can be scrolling events and many other events which are already there with a graphical control. Then comes the event source. The source is an object that generates an event. This occurs when the internal state of the object changes. So internal state of the object, say for example when you press a button, or maybe when you are scrolling device, or when you are writing something in a text box. So that's where all these are the sources of the event. So they handle particular, a source can have multiple events. For example, it can have a mouse event also, it can have a keyboard event also. So in my example, I'll be doing only two examples. Today I'll be showing you, one is the mouse events and as well as the keyboard events. And that will be in terms of an applet. So, and finally you have got something called an event listener. A listener is an object that is notified when an event occurs. So we need to actually implement the listener. A listener is generally an interface, it's not a class. So as you know the concept of interface, I have already explained you once in the class. So you have to understand that in an interface what will happen is that you will have to use the interface and define your own listeners so that you can actually program it to write your own event, what it will do to it. So I will show you with an example. So there are various types of events. So for example, motion listener. So what is this all about? It will always listen to the motion of the mouse. For example, where you have clicked it, at what location, and all those. So as we see, event is a class. Okay, so as I said, listeners are all interface, but event is a class. So if event is a class, so there are various classes which are there. So I won't go one by one at all of them. So for example, if you go to the book of this Java, the complete reference, you will be finding out all the event classes in this page number 640. So you just go through them, right? So, and then we can our discussion in case you find it difficult to understand. Because of the time constraint, I won't go very detailed into all these things, and I have explained a little bit of all these things in the class previously also. So as you can see in this particular PDF, as I'm showing you, there are different types of events. For example, action event, adjustment event, component event, container event. So all these things. So the event that I told you that I'll be talking about is this mouse event and a keyboard event. So we'll be talking about that in the example. So there are lots of events, and every event has got also certain methods in it. For example, if there is a if you are talking about the adjustment event, so there is a block decrement, block increment. So there are different types. So like for example, when you might have noticed that I have clicked in this one and I am dragging it down. That's what is called an adjustment event. So that is happening to this PDF document. So there is a block increment there. So see, if I click over here, the PDF moves a little bit in certain blocks. So all these events you can actually handle it in your applet application or a swing application, right? So but my example will be in terms of an applet over here. So there are various types of events as I have told you, and finally you have got a lot of listeners. So I will be going a little bit about the listeners because two listeners that we'll be talking about here. So I'll be bringing it to the listeners. You can go through all of them. So there are lots of events that has been described in this particular book. All right. So and I will show you with that example just as I'm following it with an example. So you can see a lot of events over here, right? So once you have, yeah. So here again, the source of an event. The source, as you see, that there can be a button, there can be a checkbox, there can be a choice. So that choice is like your radio buttons, list, menu items, scroll bars, text components, windows. These are all the source. Apart from this also, like window is one of the source. So the window that I will be talking about is the applet window. So my all my source will be the applet window, and you will be noticing in the program how we register the window with the listeners. You will be seeing about it. So now as you can see, we are talking a little bit about this event listener interface. So as I said, it's an interface. So there are different types of listeners. For example, the action listeners. So the action listeners can listen to the adjustment listeners, component listeners, container listeners, as I said before, even the mouse listeners and mouse motion listeners, mouse wheel listeners. So many types of listeners. Now coming to an example, so I will show you with this NetBeans ID. So I will show you first of all the mouse event listeners. So here, if you look at this example, so this is the example. Now, as you know that we have to import some of the important so-called packages for this one. So in this package that I'll be importing is the java.awt.event, which registers all the events that will be used in this program, and of course the applet, because that's the only graphical way of registering, showing you the events, because I cannot show you the events in a console application. Then we have got the Java AWT graphics, because I want to paint something. Paint here doesn't mean painting, as you know. Here it means that I want to write something on the screen. So for that I need this AWT graphics. So as you can see here, the name of the class is called mouse events, and as it is an applet, so it has to extend from the applet class. So there are various ways of making an applet, so that also will come to a detail because it comes in the next topic of your syllabus. So I'm not discussing this, but more or less you will get an idea of applet also in this program. Now, so as we know, a class can extend to from only one class. So that means this applet is a class, and it can implement multiple interface. So here are the interface. So here it implements the mouse listener interface as well as the mouse motion listener interface. So two listeners I'm implementing over here. That means it can listen to my mouse clicks and this one, and where the mouse is moving. So that's why it is the mouse motion listener. So this is a class which is been extended from the applet and implementing two of the listeners. So as because these are so-called your interface. So if you look at this program, I have got a string variable called message, okay, which is initially null, and two integer variable mouse x and mouse y, which will actually locate the position. Now one before see the first method that is there in an applet is always called the initialize, init method. Now this is the method where you initialize the components of an applet. So what we are doing here is that we are initializing this. You can see add mouse listener, and this, if you understand what is the this will refer to the object which is called this initialize, and which will be the applet itself, applet window itself. So you will be seeing that. Again, here we have another initialization that we have done. We have initialized two listeners. One is the mouse motion listener, and another is the mouse mouse listener, and another is the mouse motion listener, and both has been initialized to the same object which will be calling it. That's why there is the word this over there. Now we come to this one that is called the mouse click. So what will happen when you click the mouse? The moment you click the mouse, so this is a method. Right, there is a class called mouse event, as you have seen it on the PDF, okay, which will have mouse x will be 0 and mouse will be 10. That means the moment you click at 0 x position and 10th y position, it will type this message mouse click. Now how will it type? If you notice that these two variables are global, can you see that? Message equals to this, and these are not inside any method, right? So you have initialized x to be 10 and y to be x is 0 and y to be 10, and the message is mouse click. Now notice you are calling a method called repaint. Repaint is a method that is already there in your applet. What does the repaint do? It helps you to type or paint the entire canvas. Canvas here means the window, all right, to do this. So now look at this repaint method. So if I come to this repaint method, repaint will call actually the paint method of this one. Now can you see this? In this paint there is something called graphics g. Now what we are saying? We are saying g dot draw the string. So what string was that? Mouse click. At what position? Mouse x and mouse y. So every time you are calling that repaint, it will call this paint, and you have to send three things. One is the message, one is the x and y position where you want it to be printed. So every time that will be done. So that is when the mouse will be clicked, immediately it will post that one, that is mouse click. Now comes mouse entered. So that is an event when the mouse, the moment you will drag your mouse on top of the applet window, it will again call the repaint method, but this time it will type the message mouse entered. Same thing, because it will call the repaint method. Then we have got mouse exited. Exited means the moment you take out the mouse. Let me show you then, as I'm teaching you, let me show you. Let me run this program. All right. Now notice, see, can you see that mouse exited because it has come out? Now can you see when I drag the mouse inside, can you see that it's written mouse entered? And can you see this mouse moving at this? It is giving the position also every time. All right. That's because it is repainting every time. See, if I click on this one, it says down, right? All right, now if I release it, it says up. Can you see this? That's because again there is a method when the mouse is pressed, okay, then it will call. Can you see this? The message is down and repaint. Repaint is always for painting. So what it will do, it will press and it will write down. Similarly, mouse released. Release means when you release it up, then it says what? Up. You have noticed that in this adapter. Can you see that? If I click, drag it, and if I leave it, then it's up. So everything is happening because a particular event is being occurred, and we have already registered our applets, okay, with the add mouse listener and add mouse motion listener. Because we have registered to the listener, that's why my applet is every time the event is happening, it is listening to all the event, and it is calling the corresponding method to display what to be written. Here there is nothing like clicking, and means I didn't create a button here. Everything is happening with the applet, as we have seen over here. So this is an example of a mouse motion listener and mouse event listener. All right. So mouse listener and mouse motion listener. Exactly the same way you can also have the keyboard listener. So same thing, you can see that we are also now here. The only thing, now notice one thing, uh, in a keyboard one, what happens, see, there we have a class called keyboard, again extends from applet, because we have to use the applet in order to represent a graphical object. Now can you see that it is implementing key listener, not the mouse motion listener and anything. If you want everything to work together, and here is an assignment for all of you, I want you to combine these two programs and make one program where if I type something also, it should print like the way I'll explain you about this one, right? As well as it should also means handle the keyboard event as well as the mouse event. Right now what will happen in this particular program, you see, what am I implementing? Only the key listener. That means it will only handle the key listener. Now you understand what is this listener. If we do not register the listener, like I am not registering the mouse here, so it won't listen to the mouse event, it will only listen to the keyboard events. All right, why? Because we are implementing the keyboard listener. So as again the same concept over here, so can you see that we have added up this one again to this? Why? Because to the applet. So what will happen when the key will be pressed down? It will say show status. Now here we are not using paint method, you can see. All right, but notice what happens. Show status. So if you go show status is this part. Let me run you. Okay, so let me run it. The show status is this part of this one. All right, so see, nothing is happening over here, right? See, I'm clicking, all right, all around this applet. I'll just show you again once more. See, I'm clicking. Is there anything happening? No. Why? Because the event that is registered over here is for the key. Now let me type. C C O M P U T E R. Can you see it is printing over there? All right. And did you notice that key up is there? Key down, key up, key up, key up, key down. Can you see this? All right. That's because of, and it is written down there. Why? Because it says in the show status. When the key is pressed, it will say key down. When the key is released, it will say key up. And as I am typing, all right, now this is the interesting part. As I am typing, to get the character of the key that it is being pressed, we use this key ke, which is a object of this key event, and it gets there are lots of methods. So one of the method called get key card, so that helps you to get the character that is being pressed. So once you press this, and then every time it says repaint. That's why as I'm typing over here, you can see that it says yeah. So if I if I say computer, so you can see that it's typing over there. That's because it is getting the character and repaint. If you remember, repaint is doing what? It is painting that character in the screen. And that's how we can handle any kind of listeners, right? We can handle any kind of event. So basically in these two example, what I did is that I use separately the mouse event and the separately I have used the keyboard event, right? So I want you to do as an assignment, combine these two program in such a way that if I click also it should print something just like the way mouse clicked, okay, at this position and so on. That was happening in the mouse event, as well as if I type something, it should also handle the keyboard event. So that is your assignment after going through this video. If you have any doubt, please do ask me questions in the Google Classroom itself. So thank you.